What's up, Borough podcast fans? Got another episode here for you. Let's get through these commercials and we'll jump right into it. Guys, we are brought to you by Municipal Land Survey. You can reach them at 631-345-2658. Hit them up for any land surveying needs, all that good stuff. Fences, pools, building new houses, property lines, whatever you could possibly need a land survey for, they're your people to call. We are also brought to you by AS Engineering Services, a full-scale engineering and architectural firm. You can hit them up at 631-560-0259 or www.asengineeringservices.com. So say you just hit up Municipal Land Survey and now you need to build something on that property. AS Engineering Services is your people to call. You can check out their website for a lot of their cool design ideas, projects that they've worked on, renovations, complete rebuilds, brand new projects, commercial, residential, anything that you want to do, they can help you. And last but not least, we have a new sponsor, Keto Fresh. This is actually a company that I started recently. We're just in the process of getting off the ground. This is a ketogenic meal delivery service. You could follow us on keto.fresh.ny to follow along as I start this new business and get this thing going. You can see some of the meals that I make and stay on the lookout for the grand opening of the business. Okay, guys, this episode is episode 50, 54, 55, 54. This is the Triton Fight 3 preview. We have Triton Fight promoter Nick Canobio on. We discuss some of the fights that are coming up, 2 title fights specifically, and then also some of the ins and outs of the fight game. One thing that we did not get to touch upon on this episode was another way to watch the fight. The fight is actually this Friday, June 30th. So if you have the opportunity to get down to the space in Westbury, I certainly recommend it. I've been to the last 2 events. They're amazing. But you could also watch the events on Flow Combat. You can go right to Triton Fights website and you can find the link there to get to Flow Combat and be able to watch the event. So give it a look, guys. Hope you enjoy it. Have it up by tomorrow. Alright, guys, we're live. Let's get into it.
Borough podcast coming at you from just outside of our studio because it's being fumigated right now. So it's a little chemically in there. Is chemically? Is that a word?
I don't think so.
I'll take it. The scary part is I also have an office in there, and I'm in there 6 hours a day. So if I drop dead before this event Friday, you'll know why.
By the way, that's our guest Nick Canobio of Triton Fights. That's what we're here to talk about, is your upcoming event on Friday, right?
This Friday, Triton Fights 3. Should be another great event, as always. 2 title fights going off for our Triton middleweight title. Very familiar face and name, Eric Ott, had that belt, and he relinquished it.
Our co-host, who's not here right now,
who's running late, relinquished it to make his pro debut. So his 2 buddies are going to be fighting for it.
Vinny
Rizzo and Jeremy Puglia. They'll be going at it for the belt. And then we got the lightweight title, which is vacant. We got a guy, Michael Sanders, who's a 4-2 fighter. Very tough kid, going up against Cody Payne from Belmore Kickboxing, another tough fighter who's got a million fights in kickboxing and Muay Thai, and he's a good, he's making strides in MMA, and he'll be fighting for the belt at 155. So, and we got 9 other fights with that, so another exciting card.
Yeah. Before I get into what you just covered real quick, I just want to put it out there that Nick is in here working in a chemically fucking full office in here losing brain cells as well as the fighters to get this show off. So he's not the only one taking brain damage right now to get this card up.
Yeah, I take brain damage not from blows, but from fumes,
and maybe from even sitting down talking with us.
Yeah.
Could be. Yeah.
But yeah, the two bouts you just mentioned, I know 3/4 of them very, very well. I train alongside Vinny and Cody at Belmore Kickboxing and Jeremy at Vamos. So having pretty good knowledge of all three of those guys, I'm excited about those belts.
Belts for the belts.
Bouts for the belts.
Bouts for the belts.
And yeah, I can vouch for Cody making some big strides as an MMA guy. You know, the tape on him a couple years ago when he first started getting a name was he was mostly just a striker guy. You know, he had a couple setbacks where he learned, you know, you have to develop your ground game. He's been working pretty diligently on it. And I've seen him in the gym at Belmore, you know, sparring hard with Andre, working on that ground game. And he's definitely making big strides. I think you'll see a new wrinkle in Cody's game Friday night.
Yeah, he did a lot of on-the-job training, as they say, with you know, learning as you go and fighting, which is the right way to do it, especially in the amateurs. You know, it's amateur, so
right.
you want to learn as you fight. So, and the guy who actually just beat him, the guy Clint Patterson, he's actually on the belt too. He's fighting for the USMTA welterweight title. So there's a lot of tough guys on this.
So there's 3 title fights then.
Yeah, the USMTA, it's not our Triton belt,
Okay.
so I mean it's not, I don't want to say it's lesser, but it's not for our Triton belt. So,
Okay.
but yeah, it's still considered a title fight.
Okay.
So
Now he fought at 155 though, didn't he? So he's moving.
he's
up
moving
now?
up. He's moving up. He's filling up a fight. Tom Kern from Belmore was supposed to fight, but he got sick, and I don't know what the latest is, but he was pretty sick.
Okay.
Point where, you know, Keith Trimble called me up and said this kid, you know, he can't go, and he might have, you know, it might be something somewhat serious.
Okay. I didn't know.
So
that,
I hope that it's not, but
that's actually the first I heard of this. I didn't know that. And, you know, I train alongside Tom as well. So shit, Tom, get well, man.
yeah,
I didn't
seriously,
know that. I'm gonna have to reach out to him.
More important than fighting is getting your health better, and you know, yeah, it's a full-rounded card. We start off, as always, with the novice rule fighters, so any guys that have 2 or less fights have to fight novice rules, and we try and get those done first, get them out of the way, because they wear the shin guards, and, you know, it might be, you know, I'm not going to say it's less action, because the last card, someone got knocked out cold from a leg kick with a guy wearing shin guards, so
Kicked him in his head with the shin guards.
yes, so it doesn't.
You still feel it.
You still feel that.
You do still feel it.
But regardless, it's not the customary, you know, look and feel of an MMA fight. So we do those novice rule fights done, you know, get them done first, and then we get into our advanced rules, and we have 6 advanced rule fights on the card, and it's, you know, one of the best cards in the state of New York.
Well,
when we put these fights on.
you know, obviously I fought for you too. Prior to it being Triton, I fought for you when it was the Platinum Gloves,
Right.
and then again when it was
KTFO.
And I fought in other shows as well. I fought in Atlantic City for Asylum. I fought for Top Kick Super Fights doing kickboxing. I fought for another show in New Jersey that I want to say was I can't remember the name of it. Dead Serious, I think it was.
Frankie Perez.
Yeah, good show, but I gotta be honest with you. I think Triton Fights is the best iteration of it. I haven't gotten a chance to fight on the Triton event yet, but even just being there as a spectator and then being there also as a coach, it's as close to a professional atmosphere as it gets. If you didn't know it was amateur, you wouldn't know.
That's why
you know
I don't say it.
Yeah, you wouldn't know. It's
because I just hate that word amateur. I hate what it means, and these guys are not amateur in any way.
It's kind of a negative connotation, and I've been at both events, and just I want to say pageantry because it sounds bad, but the event itself, the show is amazing. It's, you know, up there with any other, you know, MMA fights or anything that I've ever been to. It's really a fantastic time.
I appreciate that, and that's my experience. Besides doing these events, is I've been around some big events with HBO and Showtime. Working for my father at CompuBox, and I just know what works and what makes a good show. And you have to have great fights, but you also want to give a reason for people to go out and just have a good time in general. So.
It's not just the fights, the packaging.
Yeah, it's everything that comes with it. It's the lights. It's an event. You have you get the music playing, you get the lights, you got 3 full bars there. You can enjoy yourself and have a couple of drinks. And
it's a really nice venue too. That helps.
The venue is beautiful. Amazing. They've done professional boxing there. Showtime has done cards there. So, it's a perfect venue for where we're at right now as far as size. It just fits. We fit perfectly in there. And we're very happy with having our events there.
I can say, like I said, I have a unique perspective of being on 3 different sides of the perspective of it, as a fighter, as a coach, and as an audience member. And the feeling for all of them is appropriate and equatable to a professional atmosphere. As a spectator, when I'm there, I'm like, man, this feels like you're at like I've been to fights at the Barclays, I've been to fights at MSG, I've been to fights at what's the one, Combat at the Capitale, I've been there and to watch fights, and it's no different. And in fact, I think yours might even be a little bit better sometimes. And then as a coach, when you're there, the backstage at that event there, those rooms, the warm-up areas, there's a bathroom, there's couches, it's comfortable, there's adequate space for people to warm up, it's run smooth, the fight meetings are on time, the bouts start on time. You don't get that in a lot of places. And then as a fighter, you get there, you're comfortable, you know that the show's going to go on time, you're in, you do your thing, and you leave. Like, it's very professional. It's done well.
We try and get 7:30 the fights are going to start. The door's going to open at 6, so you can go there, you can enjoy some drinks. There's a beautiful lounge there, and then we'll start the fights at 7:30 on the dot. There's 11 fights on the card, so it's just enough to fully enjoy all the fights, and you're out of there. Out of there by 10:30, 11 o'clock.
That's the nice thing, too. There's been some other shows. You're there till 2 o'clock in the morning.
Won't name names, but there's been some other shows where your main event doesn't start till 1 o'clock. Eric Ott, he's been a part of those. And
that's me. I've been there too. I was there with him.
I know. You got to suffer too.
Yeah, it's not fun.
I never wanted that. I never wanted people to stay, till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. I want them to, if there's something to do, like. After our events, the official after party is Cannes Sports Bar, which is right up the block on Old Country Road. We'll be done by 10:30, 11. You can go over there, and they'll have drink specials for everyone who comes down to the event, and you can enjoy a couple drinks and not end your night with fights. You can still do what you want to do.
Yeah, I mean, Chris, you've gone to almost every event Nick's thrown in the last year and a half, 2 years, between having all of us either fighting or knowing somebody fighting there. So for you as a spectator, like,
no, that's what I was saying. It's really great. The atmosphere is awesome. The events are great. We won't use the A word, but it feels just like any professional venue or mixed martial arts that I've been to. I've been to a couple of UFC events, and I have as much fun, if not more, at these events. Part of it is because I do know the fighters that are there, so I have a personal vested interest in it. But it's you have more of a feeling, like a connection to it, whether you actually know the people or not. It's a great event to be at. It's so much fun. I highly recommend it to anyone that hasn't been to one. Definitely get down there and check it out.
The champ is here.
Yes, sir.
Eric Ott himself. Welcome.
What's up, everyone?
We were just going over how, even though it's technically an amateur event, it's got a real vibe of, if you weren't there, you would never know this in amateur fights. And you and I have a unique perspective of having fought, coached, and also just been audience members and the feel of the whole thing.
And commentating for
commentating as well. I got robbed of commentating once. I got to do it at one of the older shows, and some unforeseen events stole it from me. I was very upset about it.
What happened?
We don't have to discuss that.
We'll discuss that often. I hope it didn't have to do with me.
No, it had nothing to do with you. It's not your fault. So let's talk about some of these other fights too, because I know two other guys that are also on this card that are fighting. A good friend of mine who I was coaching a lot and helping train with is Ryan Jarina. He's an up-and-comer. He's got big potential. He's fighting out of Vamos. He's fighting that night.
Yeah, he's fighting. We had an opponent for him. His opponent got injured, and Ryan stepped up. He's stepping up in weight class too. He's fighting at middleweight for this fight against a kid out of East Coast United, Victor Mana, who's 0-0, making his debut. He's a blue belt. Tough kid. I know Ryan's a tough kid from speaking with you, and I'm excited for him to fight with us. I know he fought for a couple of organizations, but I hope that once he fights for us, he sees that this is somewhere where he wants to live and stay, and we want to keep him going forward. And
it's interesting with him because before the rules got put in place, he did fight with the regular rules, and now he has to fight the novice rules. It's weird.
Yeah.
He's kind of
right.
It's like learning how to ride on
he
two
has
wheels
two
and
fights.
Put the training wheels on.
Right, exactly. You got to go back to the training wheels. He has the two fights, and we had an opponent where I think he had two fights, so he could have been going at the advanced rules, but sometimes you got to take a fight to take a fight. He trained hard. He put in a good camp, and I wanted to make sure that he got a fight. So as soon as I heard that the guy got injured, we scrambled and we got a fight for him. So
it's better than not fight.
It's better than not fight, and he can still do his thing and get in that cage and fight, which is the most important thing. And then we got another local kid from Long Island, Bobby Casal from Long Island MMA. He's making his debut.
That should be an interesting fight. I've trained with him a little bit. He's a real nice guy, and this is really going to be like the proving grounds where he's going to cut his teeth, so to speak,
right,
to see if he's got it or not. Step up and
we try to find an equal opponent, based on experience, and I think we found someone who's making their debut as well. And it's a fight, so anything can happen, but we try and evenly match these guys who are making their debuts to when they get in there.
Who else do we got on the card, Nick?
We got another kid from Long Island MMA, the infamous Ajik Ajim. I don't know what nickname he's going to use for this fight.
Oh yeah, I think it's the Booty Freak.
The Booty Freak, all right. We'll go with the Booty Freak.
I think that everyone in the gym decided for him that he's Ajik the Booty Freak Ajim.
Ajik the Booty Freak. He's going. I love Ajik. I think his last fight, that knockout, was one of the best clean punches I've seen in our cage, besides your punch to win you the title back in December.
That guy he knocked out was in my locker room, and we didn't even know that he lost when he came back. I don't think he knew that he lost when he came back.
Yeah, he was out of it. It was such a clean punch. He got knocked. He got knocked down. Obviously enough for the ref to stop it, and it was a perfect punch.
Perfect counter. I think right hook he countered him with.
It was a right hook. I know. Steven Imushima is the opponent. I know he threw one. Ajik was able to get out of the way and then counter right away.
It was beautiful.
And it was a perfect punch. It's actually in one of our promos that we did that's going out. And I'm looking forward to Ajik fighting again. I always like to see him fight, and he's getting better and better each fight. We got him. We got the main event of the prelims is Kareem Scott from Vamos. He's a beast. He's an athlete.
He's an entertainer as well.
He's an entertainer. We had a chance to speak with him. We did a question, 5 questions with him earlier, about a month ago, and he's a character, and that's what you want to have, in a sport like this. Individual, you want to stand out, and he definitely stands out, and he's an interesting kid.
Well, he stands out even physically.
He's a beast. He's a big dude. He's overpowering.
Dude.
He's a very intimidating looking kid. And
he's still very raw.
He's raw,
but having been in the gym with him, he's
here he comes, the train.
Yeah, here he comes right now. It's announcing his arrival here. The train passing. He's unique in that, as much as he's a character, which can give you the wrong impression. When the train comes through, yeah, pause. All right, sorry guys, we had to pause for a second. We had a train come by. As we explained before we started, we're outside right now because the office is being fumigated. But yeah, Kareem. If you didn't know Kareem, and you see the kind of character he is, he might come off maybe the wrong way to people, but he's actually a very humble dude, respectful, humble, wants to learn. I've trained with him, and I keep telling him, we trained together, and I'm helping him out, and he would keep calling me coach. I'm like, dude, stop calling me coach, and he can't stop it. He's just like, coach. I'm like, dude, stop calling me coach. I'm not your coach. I'm like, just helping you out, but he keeps doing it. Super respectful and asks questions, takes instructions very well, and works hard, man. So I think he's got a bright future ahead.
He does, and keep him active. He wants to stay active. He wants to keep fighting, and you learn in the cage in the amateur level. You learn as you go, and he's definitely doing that, and it's going to pay off. And we got a couple of guys, from our UFC gym in Staten Island.
A lot of guys coming out of this.
Coach Freddie always sends great guys. They bring a great crowd. We have Irvin Averbuck, who has fought for us in the past. He's 2-1 now. He lost a tough decision his last fight for us for the title, and he's coming back now. He's going up against a kid, Danny Maldonado, who's 1-2. He fought for us last time. He was victorious in his last event, for our last event, and that's a good matchup. That's a sneaky matchup that I think could be become the fight of the night. Irvin always comes forward, and Danny from that last fight, he came forward. So 2 aggressive guys, as always, makes for a great fight. And then we had Jose Rodriguez, who's fighting at a UFC Staten Island gym. Another tough kid. Lost a tough decision, in my opinion. Should have won that fight at the last card, but now he's 1-1. He wasn't able to. He knocked the guy down, and because of his novice rules, you can't hit a guy on the ground to the head. Whereas no, he didn't. But he could have stopped the fight. He could have finished the fight. He had the guy hurt. He couldn't finish the guy. Guy went down. Smart, because he knew if he went down, he wasn't going to be able to get hit in the head. So he went down, and that he was able to compose himself, and he wound up winning by decision. But Jose is now has the prerequisite to fight in advanced rules, so he's going to make his way to the advanced rules, and he's fighting Kenny Rayside from Kai Next Level. He's a veteran. He's got 9 fights under his belt, so it's a good test for Jose coming up against someone who's a veteran, and that's going to start off our advanced rules and start off our main card. So that's a good way to start, and we're going to see some action with that. And then we go to Ajri Kajim, his matchup against a tough kid named Dennis Stamp from Pure Heart MMA.
What's Stamp's record?
Stamp is 0-2, but I know he's fought 2 tough fights, 2 decisions. So it's not going to be, in that case, you can't go by a kid's record. I think he's going to be, a tough matchup for Ajik.
How do you feel about the novice rules? New York sort of copied off of New Jersey's amateur rule set.
I think it's good. I think it's good. I think any guy who's making their debut. I personally think if a guy has other combat sports under his belt,
like
and
kickboxing or boxing.
Maybe not just kickboxing, but if a guy has a has done kickboxing, has done some Naga tournaments, and has some grappling under his belt, maybe some Muay Thai fights. If you could put all that together, I think you don't need to fight in a novice rule fight. But if you're a guy who has nothing coming in, and this is your first combat event
experience,
besides a Naga rule, besides a grappling tournament, I think you need to have that, and I think it's smart for that to be in place for guys like that. So I like it. It's 2 fights, so it's not you fight two times and you move on to advanced rules. So
the only issue I have with it, I agree with like the shin pads and stuff like that for your first couple fights to get, it helps protect. It more protects you than your opponent.
Yeah.
As you mentioned before, there was a head kick KO with the shin pads on anyway. Because you don't need to be beating your body up as much in your first couple fights because you want to stay active and get that experience. I don't know about the ground and pound. I don't know that that's beneficial. I'm torn between. I'm not going to write it off, but I kind of feel like for your first 2 fights, you kind of train that rule set where you could be training for what's really going to be the duration of what you're going to be doing, and
almost like you're taking time out of actual training.
Yeah.
For something that's only going to be around for 2 fights.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how beneficial that really is, and I don't know how much it really makes a difference because like if you're still getting punched and kicked in your head on the feet, it's not really all that much worse than the ground.
Yeah.
So I have a hard time with that. I don't know how beneficial it really is.
I can see that. But I agree that there should be some kind of separation in some way with guys making their debuts in general, overall debuts, to guys,
you don't want to throw a guy in there it's his first fight, second fight, or whatever, against a guy who's got 4 fights and is used to fighting basically pro rules.
Yeah.
It's not. It helps keep the parity for competition. I agree with, but I don't know how much the rule set actually protects you in terms of that. So that's where my dilemma personally is for. But actually, I got an interesting take on this. What do you think as far as like watching the novice fights? How do you feel like does it affect what like the viewing and all?
As far as the shin pads, no, I don't think that has any negative effect. The unable to strike to the head on the ground, it kind of does. It kind of takes away from it, especially someone. I watch a lot of fights, so to see that happen and to see where someone can finish a fight and now they can't just because of this weird rule that's in effect. Yeah. It does take something away from the fight, like especially if you have someone that then comes back and wins the fight, by dropping to the ground or something like that. Whereas like you said, the kid before would have been able to finish the fight. Right. But couldn't because of the ground strikes. So I think it definitely does take something away from it.
I've actually seen that happen where a guy was just like not getting up because he didn't want to stand with the other guy. So like any opportunity he would get, he would fall to the ground, and when the guy would come on the ground to engage him, he would just out wrestle the guy and end up on the top position. And it's somebody that Dave and I both know and have trained with actually won a decision like that. And there's like 100% chance he would have lost if you were allowed to punch to the head on the ground.
That's why, what you were saying is, okay, you can get away with that in your first 2 fights, but you're not going to get away with that forever.
Yeah, forever.
And, you're going to get caught doing that. And if you are doing that routinely and you fall into a habit of doing that, then your 3rd fight you're gonna get caught and you're gonna get knocked out.
That's where my
and I see that, and also with the crowd, you hear it too. You hear it like finish him, like punch him in the head. And it's like, how do you can't? What do you do? Like, you can say this is a novice rule fight at the beginning of the fight and announce it. And just say no striking to the head, but I'm not going to remember that. So it gets a little restless.
People definitely don't like it. I remember very definitively my first MMA fight in New Jersey. I was fighting a guy that didn't want to stand at all, and he would continually every round try to take me down, and I would end up in the top position with just nothing to do. I was unable to finish him. His elbow had popped. I had him in a couple Kimuras, but you're not allowed to strike. And a guy that's not going to tap even when his arm's popping. I mean, you sort of get to a point where it's like, what do I got to do? And I remember being in the third round and hearing like an old fat man voice scream out.
Isn't it also when the voice matches their physical traits?
I never saw this guy, but I just picture him to be like a really old, heavyset bald man with like curly hair. I hear this voice scream out, "This is worse than gay porn." And I remember thinking like, oh fuck, I better do something quick.
You don't want to hear that. You don't want to hear that as a promoter or as a fighter.
No, you're in the middle of like a death match.
Yeah, you don't want to be associated with gay porn.
And I just remember like thinking like, I know it is. This is really bad, but I can't do anything.
Say, I'm sorry.
No, I was afraid Mike Marco would get out. That's the guy I was fighting, Mike Marco. I'll never forget. First MMA fight. Probably doesn't even fight anymore, Mike Marco.
With that style, I probably not either.
No.
Fight either.
It's interesting with those novice rule set. I think it's almost in some way beneficial because it's almost like a pro am show in a way.
Yeah.
You know, because like I said, outside of the novice fights, if I was uninitiated and I was a spectator and I got there right at the start of the main card where it's all basically pro rules, you would have no idea.
There's no difference. I mean, there's some like
7-ounce gloves, 4-ounce
there's some
gloves.
different rules, but
Nobody knows that.
the minutes, the rounds are shorter, but no one knows that.
Nobody knows that.
And that's the good part, and that's why we don't really say we're amateur. And I never put it on any of the posters.
I never noticed that. I never noticed that. I did not know that.
I did it at first, and I looked at a poster for like my first or second event. I'm like, I can't put that. I'm not going to put amateur. It just doesn't make any sense. I don't have to. There's no law saying I have to.
It
so
gives you
I'm
the
not.
connotation of like VFW pro
Exactly.
wrestling, like
Amateur
wrestling,
wrestling.
like, oh.
Or even like amateur boxing with the headgear, and it's like
Nobody wants to go watch
goes to
that.
those. I mean, besides the Golden Gloves, which are the top athletes, you think of amateur anything, and it's just like
It's not good.
So you avoid that.
I think it also makes it somewhat demeaning to the athlete itself because it's almost like this connotation that they're not even putting as much on the line. And like,
Right.
if you've been to any of these shows, you've seen people get knocked out.
Yeah.
There's still real
But,
consequences
yeah,
to the fights.
It's the same consequences.
Yeah.
It's the same exact.
Yeah.
You get punched in your head. Doesn't matter who's doing the punching.
Right.
Like, you take a damage.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is New York too, so I mean I always say this, and with New York amateur is probably better than most pro other states.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
there are some amateur cards out there in other states where it's an amateur fight. You don't have to put it on there. You see them competing, it's an amateur fight. In New York, you get guys like Eric who he's fighting amateur. It's not. I don't consider it, amateur. I mean, Eric would be a pro fighter in any other state, but because it's New York, you want to, you're getting that great competition on the amateur level. Exactly. I mean, you get that competition on an amateur level. It's great competition.
No, you're 100% right. I don't think that other states necessarily stack up. I would take if you ever were to put on a card where it's like you put New York guys versus other states. I think
It would be very one-sided.
I mean,
Look
at
quick
this.
card.
Look at Long Island right now. Look at next month. The UFC has a Long Island card. You got Chris Weidman, Ryan LaFleur, Gian Vellante, Brian Kelleher, Chris Wade, Dennis Bermudez, all on that card. Long Island is a hotbed of talent. I mean, now also look. The Bellator card, you had Anthony Giacchino, you had Hugh McKenna, you had Sergio Da Silva. I mean, these are all New York guys, and they're all fighting at the top levels. This is all from Long Island.
Right. Sergio made some waves with that weigh-in scandal.
I saw. Yeah,
that was pretty funny. I had to give it to him. And
I didn't hear about that until
did you see the video?
I did see the video, and I haven't spoken with him yet. I don't know what was going on.
It was very apparent. I don't know if you guys all saw it, but he put 1 foot on the scale to try and, he weighed in at 2.5 pounds over. And listen, he weighed in 7 pounds over. But sometimes that happens, and I know he's an older fighter. He's a veteran. He's been around, so making 135.
In his defense, there was some flaky stuff that
I'm
went
sure
on
there
behind
is.
the scenes.
I'm sure there was.
that nobody really knew about, and apparently there was an initial weigh-in before that weigh-in,
right?
And they had a new agreed-upon weight, and then all of a sudden the commission decided that the new agreed-upon weight wasn't okay. And both fighters had already started to rehydrate.
Right.
New York Athletic Commission.
So that's apparently the story that nobody's like telling anybody.
Yeah.
So he really wasn't 7.5 pounds over. He was really about 2 pounds over the 130-pound weight limit. And then they agreed upon the other fighter, and he said like, "Oh, that's cool, whatever." And apparently they hadn't signed off on the weigh-in yet. I guess the commission. So they said, "No, we didn't sign off on your last weigh-in because there was a discrepancy. You came in overweight." They said, "Come back in," and he said, "Well, we already started to rehydrate."
Right. So
and then at that point, he was already heavier. So he wasn't like it wasn't as egregious as it had seemed.
Right. And I thought it was. I mean, I just thought it was funny what he tried to pull, and it almost worked. But I think
he's fighter to the end. He's fighting to make the weight no matter what.
Keep that fight on.
Got to give him the credit.
Yeah. People do that shit. Cormier did that.
That's what started it. I mean, him holding on to the towel. I guess the commission got wise to some of it, but. Yeah, like you said. I mean, with the hotbed of Long Island, it's definitely apparent, and that's why not saying it. That's why another reason why I don't say amateur, because these guys aren't amateur fighters, plain and simple. So
I like that. I like that. That's your approach to it, and it's weird. You'd think all the experience I've had with you and fighting for you and being there at the events, I would have noticed that, but I didn't.
Yeah. No, you're pretty clueless sometimes.
Yeah, that's true. So I like that. I respect that. It makes me appreciate the event even more, honestly. I know obviously it sounds like I've come from a biased source here. Maybe I am a little bit, but that's fine.
That's all right.
So you have this event June 30th, which is this Friday, and then I know your next event is what, September?
We're going to do September. Yeah, it's going to be in September. Right now it's set for September 15th. And then we have a December 1st card.
So do you start like Friday, the night ends, and we're
thinking about the next card.
Or you're already on the next one already?
Well, we start to think about the next card, and from my standpoint, I'm thinking about how to promote it and how to market it, and thinking about what fighters we're going to use. So who am I going to use to promote it and get that name out, because that's really what I focus on, and what I think what I excel at is promoting the card. And we did the the feature with Jeremy Puglia and Vinny DeRiso, and we sat down with them, and we got some footage of them training, and get a small inside look at these fighters, and put a name to the face, and so that's what I look for. Once this fight ends, we go to the next one and see what we can do on that.
You given any thought to maybe, because I like what you guys did. I know you did with Eric on his last fight. It's almost like how the UFC does their Road to stuff.
Right.
It's real cool,
stuff,
yeah. And if you're an amateur fighter, that's the fucking coolest thing ever, right? You give any thought to like doing fight week stuff too, like Yarbs just said, the embedded, like the week of the fight, maybe having them follow some guys around the night of the weigh-ins. You guys gonna do anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, we want to,
especially when the pro starts.
I want to expand on that. I think I like that part of promoting it. I think that's the type of stuff that people want to see, obviously, because UFC is committing to it, and they do a lot of that stuff. It's obviously people are watching it, and that's what they like to see, and get into the life of a fighter. So yeah, I want to expand on that if we can, and do more stuff like that.
I think that'd be real cool.
That's the way to do it. You have to draw people in. Like that's what saved the UFC and stuff like that. Was like the Ultimate Fighter, and like getting into that head, like being part of it, being part of the whole experience of being a fighter and training and things like that. normal people don't experience that kind of stuff.
Right.
So to bring them in, it just creates like this whole new wrinkle in it and gets them super interested. You see it on like social media now, like people always Snapchatting their training or putting Instagram videos up with hitting pads and stuff, and it draws more people in. It just gets so much more interest and more buzz going.
I'm not gonna lie. The UFC's roped me in on a couple pay-per-views I didn't plan on buying by just like watching some of those. And
They create the story.
Same thing with boxing. The boxing ones.
Oh, the 24/7
yeah,
HBO.
They do such a great job.
So that's, again, coming from that, I know the guys who do that, and it's like they're so talented, and it's like I love those, and I love watching them. Looking forward to the Triple G Canelo one that they do. Yeah. Even the Mayweather McGregor one's going to be great too, because just getting in getting in the mind of them and training and it's something that you want to watch and you get excited for the fight, and that's what I hope happens with the stuff that I do. And you get excited for the fight. You might not know these guys personally, but if you watch that and you say, I look forward to that fight now.
It's amazing. Like I think no one did it better than like the NFL. The NFL was able to create like they have 16 games, but they monopolize an entire year with Hard Knocks and they have a whole network, NFL Network. Like they just go deep into the teams, into the guys' lives and stuff. And I think that is the best way or the best avenue to just grow MMA in general is just creating a constant way to connect with these people.
Right. No, that's there's two parts from my perspective. There's two parts of a promotion. It's the actual fights, and it's promoting the fights and doing what you can to create an audience for these fighters and give them a platform.
Shameless plug here, Six Borough Podcast. Proud to help that out,
Yeah, absolutely. Stuff like this, and getting fighters on here. I know you guys had a couple of fighters. I know you had Jeremy on here, and and it's just stuff like this. Just it helps sell a fight, but it also gives them experience. A lot of these guys, they want to go pro, and when you go pro, you're going to do a lot of this stuff. So why not get the experience now, so you can market yourself even better, and you can have the experience and feel more comfortable. And you do that, promoters like that, and they like guys that are outgoing like that, and they'll get you fights.
There's no other promotion doing the things you're doing right now on this level. There's nobody else with the unique perspective that you have either, I don't think, because you are unique in that you grew up in the fight game. Your father with CompuStrike, and then you grew up watching the fights, being a part of the fights. A unique look behind the curtain with how things are packaged, produced. What sells, what works, and the passion you have for it shows, and the product shows behind that. I think everything you're doing. Why would you not want to fight on this event and B spectate on one of these events? It's on par with everything else, and I think I don't think anybody else is really holding a candle to you in those terms, man. I don't think, and nobody else. I mean, I don't know personally any other promoters as well as I know you either, but I don't know anybody else that's in a fucking fumigated office for 6 hours losing brain cells to put together their cards, man. Yeah. I mean, you're doing the work constantly, and you're putting out a good package because of it, man. I
appreciate that.
I think it shows, and whatever. I'm biased.
You read what I sent you to read perfectly. With a great promo.
Everybody knows I can't read, dude. But no, it's true. I'm not. I also, me and Eric and I also have a unique perspective, having fought for other shows, coached on other shows, watched other shows as well, and also, we both also, have worked with the CompuStrike. We see them behind the scenes too. So the three of us sitting here have a pretty unique perspective on things, and I think we have a pretty qualified perspective on that. I mean, you agree, Eric?
No, no other promotions are going behind the scenes and doing like little like get to know it videos about their fighters. I mean, unless you're talking about like Glory or the UFC or Bellator, like maybe like the top 5 professional MMA promotions in the world are doing that. But nobody on this level is really taking the time out to promote local fighters like that, or guys from the Northeast. And that's what makes the difference. Like a few years ago, when you'd hear like, oh, what show do you want to fight on? When you talk to up-and-comers, there would be like a whole bunch of names thrown around, and it would more or less be like, oh, I know this guy real well. And at that point, it didn't really matter. But right now, the only show that people really want to fight on is Triton Fights, because you get that professional feel and you get treated real well as an athlete. And it's not like you're in like a big room before the fight and you're there with your team, and like sitting 6 feet away from you is like the guy you're fighting,
right.
And maybe there's like a sheet hanging in between or something like that. And it's not like you're getting there and everyone's like, oh, where's the guy that signs off on your gloves? You can't find him, or there are no gloves, or the gloves are all like disgusting. And then, or you're down there, you're all crammed in, you're down there for like 7 hours, and they're changing opponents on you like the night of, which happens at a lot of other events here.
To me.
Yeah, I mean, if you've been fighting for any amount of time, I mean, in a lot of those older shows, that's just sort of how it was. Or there would be some flaky weigh-in where you didn't really see anybody. You didn't see your opponent weigh in, and the opponent was really like a guy that trained at the other promoter's gym, and there was all types of flaky stuff going on. And I mean, but Triton Fights really sort of like has the equation put together to make a great and successful event. And the events are in a beautiful venue. The space in Westbury is, I mean, there's no bad seat in the house. There's great bar there with drinks. It's a professional feel.
There's 2 bad seats in the house. Yep. If you sit behind either one of you tall motherfuckers, it's not going to be a good night.
Go to the back.
There's TVs in the lobby and in the lounge area that are showing the fights, and you know, even if you want to run to get a drink, you won't miss any action.
Nice.
And you get to hear my brother Dan too speak, you know, commentating every once in a while. Eric. I got to give a shout to Jason Griggs, who flies from Vegas to do these cards.
Is he coming in this week?
He'll be here. Yeah, he'll be here because it's his 30th birthday this weekend too. So,
hey Griggs, if you're listening, I've had a T-shirt for you for like 6 months.
well, now it's his birthday gift.
So now it's going to be your birthday gift, and you know what? I'm not sure. I might have to give it to Nick to give to you because I'll probably forget.
I'll make sure I hand that off to him. And,
all right, well, you got anything else you want to mention for?
Yeah, there's still some tickets available. You can go to TritonFights.com to get your tickets. There's a handful of ringside still there, and there's some loge, and you know, like Eric said, there's not a bad seat in the house, and even if you're sitting in the balcony, it doesn't mean you're sitting in the upper deck of Yankee Stadium or even you know, the Barclays Center all the way up where you can't even see the action because you're above the scoreboard.
Well, the Barclays is rough when you're up there. I had somebody get me tickets to an event, and they were like, oh, do you want to come? I got an extra ticket. So I went with them, and I felt like I had like altitude sickness up there. And I was like a little bit afraid. I was a little bit afraid that if I tripped, I might die.
Right. Yeah, you don't want to have that feeling. You won't have that feeling at my event. You won't have that at all. So, yeah, TritonFights.com to get tickets for this Friday. I want to just mention our sponsor, our Cannes Sports Bar. They are having the after party on Old Country Road in Westbury right after the fights. Head over down to Cannes. And Strikeforce Sports it's the largest airsoft facility, indoor facility in the Northeast, and we had actually I just posted a video up on our Instagram of us. We went down there, and it's tons of fun. They're in Deer Park, and you know, you can go down there, you can shoot some guns in a safe environment because it has those little airsoft pellets. And we went down there. It was an awesome experience, so we want to give a shout to them. You can check them out. They'll be down at the event too, and I hope to see everyone that's listening down there.
Come out, support local business, support local fighters, and keep a good thing going on Long Island, especially if you have friends that fight. This is how your friends will build careers. Support local businesses, local fighters. Don't complain about the price of fucking tickets.
Not that expensive.
It's not that expensive, and don't be those whack-ass people that hit you up, hit the guy up, hit your boy up the day after your fight with some excuse. Oh, I couldn't go, man. Because you know what? They don't care.
No, they just want you to see you. They want to see you.
They just want to see you.
Support the people like you support celebrities who you don't fucking know.
Exactly. All right. We'll leave it at let's end on that note. I like that.
Yeah, I like that too.
I like that.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Later, guys.